What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we are going to discuss question number 33 of the database and the video series. So without talking that much, let's move on to question. So in this question what's basically going to happen is, in question number 31 and 32 we discussed how to arrange the tables in this question. So up to now we have discussed how to arrange the tables, and we still haven't related those tables. That means there are no connections between those tables. So in this question we are going to start off by relating all these tables that we have created, and we are going to do that in the form of question and answers. So in question number 33 we have 12 parts. So I'm going to we have 13 parts. So I'm going to start off with the question and I'm going to tackle them one by one. So I have my MySQL Workbench open here. So here we have all the tables that we have created in the previous question. Here as you can see we have all the tables arranged like this. So in the first question they are asking record the relationship between the user and the user type in the ER diagram. So here we have the ER diagram. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open my MySQL Workbench. Then I'm going to take out these two tables that we had to do for the first question. So I have my two tables here. Now we are going to relate these two tables. So they are asking us the relationship. So if you need to build up this relationship, the first thing you have to understand is the logic. So you have the user and the user type. User type means whether the user is a seller or a customer or something like that. And here what we have to understand is that one user can have only one user type. That means a user can be either a seller or a customer. It can't be both. So, and when you take one user type, that means a seller, in the shop there can be many sellers. So one user can have only one user type, but one user type can be assigned to many users. So in that case what is going to happen is that the relation should be one to many, and you should start off from the user table. So you first click on the user table, then click on the user type table. Now you have the relationship, a one to many relationship. Like this, you have the user and the user type table. The user and the user type table are connected by a one to many relationship like this. And there's one small thing that I have to do. Now as you can see, when I connected these two tables, a column has been added to this table. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename that column again, so it's easy for me to understand the question. I'm going to rename this column as I'll call it user type ID. That's it. I'll name it as this. Okay, so that's all for the first question. So our first question is done, and moving on to the second question. So our first question is done. So record the relationship between the user and the gender. Okay, now here also like the same thing. One user can have only one gender, but when you take one gender, that gender can be allocated for many users. That means, for example, if you say person A, he or she can have only one gender. It can be a male or it can be a female. You can't be both. But when you take one gender, that means male, there can be many users with the gender called male. So in that case, like the same thing, I have to take the gender table here. I have my gender table here, and I'm going to relate this. So one user can have one gender, but one gender can be allocated to many users. So you can relate the table like this. So you have a one to many relationship, and the many side should be allocated to the users. Okay, that's all for the first question and the second question. Now we are in the third question. So in the third question, record the relationship between the user and the system login. Okay, now we have to search for the system login table. Okay, I have my system login table here, and now what we have to understand is the logic behind the relationship. Okay, so one user can have many system logins. That means, for example, when you're creating Google accounts, when you're creating Google accounts, you can create many Google accounts with various types of system logins. You can access the system using various types of logins as many users. So if you have two system logins, that means you are accessing the system using two system logins. So in that way, when you think about it like that, one user can have many system logins. So once I select this user table, and okay, so one user can have many system logins, but one system login can be allocated to only one user, because that system login contains the username and password of that unique user only. So a user can access the system using only those two, that means the username and the password. One user has only one username and password. Okay, so if you think about it like that, the relationship goes like this. We have to start off from the system login, then move on to the user table. That means your system login should have a column as user_user ID. I'll have to rename that column as user ID. So I'll just double click on the table and I'll just rename the table as user_ID, because we don't need lengthy columns. So I named my column as user_ID and I gave and automatically it is assigned the data type int, because this is a foreign key. So foreign keys get the data type as int because they are integers. Okay, so we have assigned the relationship between the user and the system login. So let's move on to the next question. So now we have done the first three questions. So next one, record the relationship between the user and the address. Okay, so when you think about it, when you take one user, he or she can have only one address. That means, for example, when you take a person, he or she has only one address. That is the person. That is the place where the person lives. So when you take the address table here, I'll take the address table like this. So now you have the address table. So you have the address table and the user table. So one user has only one address, but there can be many people with the same address. So suppose your family members have been registered onto the system. So all your family members have the same, because they are living under the same house. They have the same address, but there are many users. But for one user, there's only one address. That means if there are like 4 people in your house, all four people have the same address, but one person has only one address. But all of those people have the same address. So when you think about it, the relationship goes like this. First you have to click on the user table, then the address table. So the relationship comes like this. So the greater than sign should come onto the user table, meaning that one user can have only one address, but when you take one address, there can be many users with the same address. That means members of the same family can have the same address when you think about it like that. Okay, so moving on to the next question. So next question is, record the relationship between the address and the city table. Okay. Now we have the address table connected to the user table. Now I have to take my city table right here. Okay, so when you think about it, one city can have only one address. Now, when you take one address contains only one city. So, for example, when you take an address, the address has only one city. But when you take one city, there can be many addresses which has the same city. So, because a city contains many houses, so all of those houses doesn't have the same address. They have different addresses, but with the same city. So when you think about it like that, the relationship goes like this. First you have to click on the address table, then the city table. So when you connect it, you have the greater than side to the address table, then then the other side to the city table, meaning that when you take one address, there is only one city, and when you take one city, there can be many addresses with the same city. Okay. So moving on to the next question, that is question number 6. Record the relationship between the product and the brand table. Okay. I'll take my product table. We have my product table here. Then I'll take my brand table here. We have it right here. And when you think of it, one product has only one brand. So when you take a brand, for example, I'll take Apple. Apple is a brand. So when you take an Apple product, for example, say an Apple Watch. So that Apple Watch has only one product or one brand, that is Apple. So but when you take one brand, that is when you say Apple, there can be many products. So Apple Watches, Apple laptops, that means Macs, and other accessories. There are many products with the same brand name. So when you think of it like that, can you understand how the relationship should go? So it goes like this. So first you have to click on the product table, then the brand table. So when you click it like that, you have the relationship like this. One product has one brand, and from one brand there can be many products. So one to many. The relationship is a one to many relationship, and here's how it goes. One product has only one brand, and one brand, when you take one brand, there can be many products with the same brand name. Okay, so that's the end of the 6th question. Moving on to the 7th one. Record the relationship between the user and the GRN table. So GRN table we discussed in the earlier question. The GRN table is called the good receive notice. So we discussed that in the previous question. What happens is, when you take the GRN table and the user table, I'll place it like this. Just quickly arrange them like this, so it's easy for you to understand. Okay. I have my GRN table and the user table. Okay. So when you think of it, one user, that means normally GRNs are obtained by sellers, but in this case all the users of the system are categorized. That means all are users, but according to the user type they may differ. So however, all these users are under the user table. So user and the GRN table should be related. So how they should be related? The question is that. So how they should be related? One user can have many GRNs, and one GRN can be obtained by only one user. So what basically happens is, one user can have many GRNs because according to time. So for example, just think a user sells some goods to a store, and the seller gets a good receive notice. The shop owner gets a good receive notice, and on the next day also the same seller comes, then he also gets the same good receive notice. So the same person gets the same GRNs, but on 2 different time periods. So when you think of it like that, the relationship should come like this. So how it should come? One user can have many GRNs according to the date and time, and one GRN is only obtained by one user. A GRN is unique to one user. So when you take it like that, you have to first select on the GRN table, then the user table. So your relationship should look like this. So the many side should be connected to the GRN, and the single side, that means the other side, should be connected to the user table. So when you take one user, he has only one GRN, and when you take one user, there are many GRNs, and when you take one GRN, there's only one user. That means the GRN is unique to only one user. Okay, that's the end of the 7th question. Moving on to the next one. Record the relationship between the GRN and the GRN item table. Okay, the GRN and GRN item table. Okay, we have our GRN item table right here. I'll place my product table and the brand table here. Okay. Now we have our GRN and GRN item tables here. Okay. So can you understand how the relationship should go in these two tables? So when you take one GRN, there can be many items in that GRN. Now when you take, for example, when you go to a shop, when you go to a shop and you buy stuff and you get a bill. Just for example, in this case, just take a bill. So in that bill there can be many products. So one GRN has many products, but when you take one product, that is under only one GRN. That means, for example, when you are buying some stuff, just take one product. That product is only under that GRN. So the product is only unique to that GRN. So when you think of it like that, the relationship should come like this. First you have to click on the GRN item table, then the GRN table. So when you connect it like that, you have the GRN underscore ID table, ID column. I'll just rename that again. Here you have to rename this as GRN underscore ID column. Okay, and you have the GRN and GRN item tables separated like this, and they are connected by a one-to-many relationship. One GRN has many GRN items, and when you take one GRN item, there can be only one GRN under that item. So again, I also have to rename these columns. City underscore ID should be renamed as only city underscore ID. Yeah, I forgot to rename that. And also here the table column should be renamed address underscore ID, and here gender ID. Okay, and here it should be brand underscore ID, not brand underscore ID. Okay, so when you are connecting tables like this, make sure to rename the columns as the way you want, because as default the name is too lengthy. The default name they are giving to the table once they are connected is lengthy, so it's better if you rename the columns once they are connected. Okay, so that was the end of the 8th question, I think. Yeah, it was the end of the 8th question, the relationship between the GRN and GRN item tables. Okay, next moving on to the 10th question, sorry, the 9th question, GRN item table and the product table. We have to relate the GRN item and the product table. Okay, I have my GRN item table here, and we have to get the product table. You have to get the product table, and I have my product table here, which is connected to the brand table. So I have to move that brand table here also. And now what I am going to do is I am going to connect the GRN item and the product tables. So how they are going to be related? That is the question. Okay. So one product can be under many GRNs. So there can be one product which is under many GRN items. So when you take the GRN item table, and the product table, when you take one product, there can be many there can be many rows allocated in this table, because when you take one product, that product can be seen in most of these rows. So when you take one product, there can be many columns, many rows in the GRN item table. But when you take one GRN item, that's only for one product. So the relationship should go like this. You have to first click on the GRN underscore item table, then the product table. So this is how it should be shown like this. Okay. When you take one product, one GRN item, that is allocated only for one product, but when you take one product, it can be seen in many rows in this table, that is in the GRN underscore item table. Okay, moving on to the 10th question. So we have to relate the GRN underscore item table and the stock table. So we have to look for the stock table first. Okay, here we have our stock table. We have our stock table right here, and what I am going to do is I am going to relate these two tables. Okay, so how they are going to be related? One, when you take one stock, that is only under when you take one stock, there can be many GRN items in that stock. But when you take one GRN item, that comes under only one stock. I'll repeat it again. When you take one stock, there can be many GRN items in that stock. But when you take one GRN item, that is unique to only one stock. So when you think about it like that, the relationship should come like this. So first you have to click on GRN underscore item table, then the stock table. So this is how it should be shown. So when you take one GRN item, that is only under one stock, but when you take one stock, there can be many GRN items inside that stock. So moving on to the 11th question. So in the 11th question, we have to relate the user and the invoice table. Okay, first I have to take my user table. I have my user table here, and I will take the invoice table right here. Okay. Now what we have to do? There's only a simple relationship here. The relationship is one user can have many invoices, but when you take one invoice, there's only one particular user. So the relationship should go like this. So we discussed about this in the previous question. So I'm not going to thoroughly discuss it in deep. So I'll explain it again. One user can have only one invoice, but one user can have many invoices, and when you take one invoice, that is unique to only one user. Okay, moving on to the 12th question, that is we have to make a relationship between the invoice and the invoice item table. So I have the invoice table, and now here we have the invoice item table. So in the same thing like in the previous question, that is question number 11, we have to relate it like this. So when you take one invoice, there can be many invoice items inside that invoice. But when you take one invoice item, that is only under one invoice. So we have to select it like this. So this is how the relationship should go. So when you take one invoice, there can be many invoice items inside that invoice. But when you take one invoice item, that is only under one invoice in this table. Okay. Moving on to the last and final question. Record the relationship between the invoice item and the stock table. Okay. Now we have the invoice item table. Now we have to find the stock table. I think, yeah, it's here. Okay. So I'll just move my system to the main table here and the user table here. So we have to arrange these tables so we can see all the relationships. Otherwise, it looks like a big net, like a spider. So you can't distinguish the relationships between the tables. Otherwise, it's hard for you to look at the database like this. So okay. So the final relationship, it should come like this. So you have to first find the stock table. I have my stock table right here. Then you have to find the invoice item table, which is next to it like this. Now the relationship is one stock can have many invoice items inside that. But when you take one invoice item, that is only under one stock. So it's basically similar to the GRN item and the stock table. So the relationship should go like this. First you have to click on the invoice table, then you have to click on the stock table, and also don't forget to rename the columns. So I forgot to rename the columns here. You have to rename the invoice underscore ID as just only invoice underscore ID, and just rename this as stock underscore ID, and yeah, this table also should be renamed. You have to rename the columns in this one also. Stock underscore ID should be renamed as stock underscore ID. Then product underscore ID should be renamed as just product underscore ID. And I guess that's it. Yeah, in this one also you have to rename it. user underscore ID should be less, just only user underscore ID. And I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so we have related all the tables that we have created in question number 31 and 32. So that is the end of the question number 33. Okay, so I'll meet you guys in the next video, that is question number 34. So stay tuned with the channel. So if you haven't subscribed, you can subscribe to my channel. If you are interested in stuff which is related to the software engineering field, this is the channel for you. So you can subscribe and hit the notification bell, so you'll be notified by the latest content of this channel. So until we guys next meet, so I'll meet you guys then. Bye guys.